Well, where do we begin? If you're new to having an aquarium or you're thinking about getting one in the future, it's important to know the biggest mistakes that hobbyists make so you don't have to learn the hard way. I wish that when I had started out, I'd known these things instead of just learned from experience, but what did I know? I was 10 years old. The most important piece of advice we can give you is to cycle your tank correctly, or what some people call having a strong cycle. What even is a cycle though? The cycle referred to in this hobby is the nitrogen cycle, which is essentially the formation of a large or strong bacterial colony. When you have a strong cycle, you have enough bacteria in your tank to keep your fish healthy and thriving. Typically, when people hear bacteria, they often think it's a negative thing since it's most associated with illness. However, in this hobby, most times when someone says bacteria, they're referring to the beneficial bacteria that converts toxic ammonia and nitrite into a less toxic form called nitrate. In order to grow a bacterial colony to a size that can support life, you have to feed the bacteria. That means adding an ammonia source like fish food or a hardy fish that will produce waste that then decays and turns into ammonia. A cycle is typically complete in about 3 weeks. Once you have 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and less than 40 parts per million nitrate, your cycle's finished. How do you know what your levels of ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate are though? Well, that brings us to the second point, which is testing your water so that you know when you can add more fish or sensitive invertebrates like shrimp, snails, or crabs. The most reliable and effective way to test your water parameters is by using titration test kits rather than test strips. Although test strips will give you a general idea of where your water chemistry is at, the titration method is much more accurate and will give you clear indications of what's going right or wrong in your aquarium. Once you know your parameters, you will be able to find trends or reoccurring problems by writing your test results down. So many times, customers come into the store and ask us, "My fish are dying," or "I'm getting a ton of algae," or "My fish are acting strange." My first question for them is, what are your water parameters? There are so many factors to narrow down in order to know what the cause of a problem is in your tank. So knowing your water parameters will lead you to answers much faster than trial and error. Go slow with the addition of fish. Too many fish can cause an ammonia spike, which as stated before is toxic and can be overly stressful to your fish. It can lower their immune system, ergo diminishing their ability to fight diseases and infections, and can even burn their gills. Be conscious of the amount of fish you're putting in your tank, and please don't buy them all at once. Some people have come up with rules to know how to properly stock your tank, like the 1 inch per gallon rule, but it really comes down to the kind of fish, the quality of the filter, and the environment you're keeping. For the first fish you'll be adding to your aquarium, an appropriate amount of fish for say a 10 gallon would be 3 small fish, or 6 fish for a 50 gallon. Wait 2 weeks before adding more to let the beneficial bacteria catch up. The amount of food you put in your tank will either make you love or hate your aquarium. Although that sounds pretty dramatic, it's to some extent true. Overfeeding can cause all kinds of issues. If you have leftover food in your tank, it can cause a dangerous ammonia spike and major algae growth. It's also not healthy for a fish to be overfed, even though they seem like they're always hungry. When someone overfeeds, we call it loving their fish to death. To prevent all these issues, feed your fish only what they can consume in 2 minutes, making sure that there's no food left in the top, middle, or bottom of the tank. Proper maintenance is extremely important for your aquatic animals and plants. We recommend you do your first water change after 4 weeks of cycling your tank. Then from that point onward, do a water change every week or at the very least every 2 weeks. Taking out 20 to 30% of your old water and replacing it with new clean water will maintain your bacterial colony and not disrupt your ecosystem too drastically. If you're using tap water, make sure to use a tap water conditioner to remove the chlorine. Also, it's best to rinse your filter media in your discarded tank water, since the chlorine from tap water would kill your good bacteria and fish. If you're using RODI water, then there's no need for you to use water conditioner. Now, this might not relate to everyone, as a lot of beginners do not have real aquatic plants, but it's something I wish I was exposed to much sooner than I was. Plants have so many benefits that it's impossible for me to ever go back to using fake plastic decorations like I did when I started. The problem that most beginners have when starting a planted tank is that they don't get enough plants. Having a planted tank is a balancing game, as microalgae, the stuff that everyone hates, competes directly with macroalgae, or aquatic plants. They use the same nutrients, thus whoever can grow faster will outcompete the other and win. If you have a 10-gallon tank with one small plant, then you're probably not going to have much success. But if you add 5 to 10 plants, or really whatever will fit in your tank, then you'll already have the upper hand and you won't have to deal with an algae nightmare. It's best to have a variety of plants, including fast-growing stem plants that will suck up the nutrients quickly. Also, adding Excel and very small amounts of fertilizer will make your plants absolutely thrive. Does it really matter how much you spend on filtration, lighting, and substrates? Going cheap can save you money in the beginning, but in the long run, it will usually cause more problems than you might think. Having a cheap filter means that you have to keep less fish, or do more water changes, or in some cases do both. Water changes aren't typically expensive, but they do take time, and time is money. Buying an inexpensive light might mean that you can't show off your fish's amazing colors, or more importantly, that you can't grow plants, if that is the route you want to take. Having cheap substrate means that you have less freedom to choose what kinds of plants you want to grow. Several hobbyists have asked us what kind of high-quality plant substrates they should buy after they tried the cheap method of using potting soil in their tank, which indefinitely made their water a murky brown color. We highly recommend you use aquatic plant substrates specifically designed for optimal growth, like ADA Amazonia, Oliver Knott Aqua Earth, or Fluval Stratum. If you want to know the benefits of our most loved substrate product that we carry, then check out our video on how to set up an ADA aquarium, where we use Amazonia 2 and Power Sand for good root health. Cutting corners can and often does kill animals and plants. Instead of focusing on all the problems that arise from going cheap on essentials, invest in good quality products that are proven to keep your animals and plants healthy and happy long term. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on top-of-the-line equipment and supplies, but at the very least, buy equipment that is designed to keep your animals thriving for their whole life. Well, those are the biggest mistakes that you are hopefully not gonna make. Since you're on YouTube researching, then you're already stepping, or should I say, swimming, in the right direction. If you have anything to add to our list, let us know in the comments below. Consider subscribing to our channel if you'd like to gain more knowledge or keep up to date with what's going on in our store. We didn't just make this video for the halibut. We really want you to succeed and enjoy this amazingly wonderful hobby. Have a fantastic day.